listening to the Life Edit Project podcast, where busy, ambitious high achievers get the tools they need to fight overwhelm and overthinking with balance, self-mastery, and a positive mindset. I'm your host, Elizabeth Burrows. I'm serving up bite-sized truth bombs in a judgment-free zone based on my perspective as a life coach, wife, mom, and recovering overachiever. We keep it real over here, which usually means some combination of insightful, entertaining, and a hot mess express. So, if you're looking for perfection, look elsewhere. But if you're still with me, let's dig into this week's episode. Good day, good people. Welcome back to episode 39 of the Life Edit Project podcast. I've got a juicy little episode for you today. Today, we are talking about asking for what you want. Why it's important to ask, the opportunities that can open up for you when you do ask, and what happens or can happen when you don't. And of course, we're still in the postseason, so this episode is a rebroadcast of a previous live stream video that I did a while back on Instagram. So, no, it's not a new conversation from me, but it is new to the podcast, and therefore it is probably new to you. So I am still positive that even though it's not new, you will get something out of it. So just keep on listening. But if you are tired of these upcycled conversations, fear not. I have fresh goodies coming your way starting next week, a week from the day this episode is released. Season 2 will officially kick off. I've got all new, brand new, original episodes, original conversations coming your way. So season 2 will officially kick off with episode 40. I'm very excited. I hope you are too. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Life Edit Project podcast, wherever it is that you like to listen, so that you don't miss season 2 when we premiere, okay? And don't keep this all to yourself. Tell a friend, bring a friend, so y'all can listen together, because sharing is caring, okay? In the meantime, as you listen to today's conversation, just do yourself a favor, grab your pen, grab your paper, because this particular episode comes with homework. In this conversation, I'm going to toss out a few really good questions that if you actually take them seriously and take some time to answer them, they will help you put this whole aspect of asking for what you want into context in your own life. And I promise that is a worthwhile exercise. But as always, if you want to continue this work in a really deep way, I am here to help. Book a sales call with me to sign up for my one-on-one coaching program and become the version of yourself that has what you want because you have the guts to ask for it. All right. Okay. So to book that call with me, the link is in the show notes. So just tap that link and holla at your girl. All right, that's all the intro you get for today. It is time to dig in to this episode. Ready? Let's go. Today, we're going to talk about asking for what you want. We're going to talk about why you should be asking for what you want and what happens, what the impact of it is when you don't. Okay? That's what we're talking about today. If you are watching, let me know in the comments where you're watching from so that I can say hi. Glad to have y'all here. And let me introduce myself. My name is Elizabeth. I am a life and mindset coach. I specialize in helping women overcome Superwoman syndrome, but I literally coach my clients on all kinds of mindset issues. I help them unpack and declutter their minds so that they can learn how to put themselves at the top of their to-do lists, and doing all of that without guilt, shame, or overwhelm. So that's who I am. That's what I do. But like I said, today we're talking about asking for what you want because I think it's an incredibly important topic. And you know what I'm going to do? So first of all, y'all know I always have my notes when I go live. So if you see me glancing to the side, that's what I'm doing. Because it's morning time right now, I'm also drinking coffee. So you might see me pause to take a little sip. Okay, we're talking about asking for what you want. So I'm going to start off by telling y'all a little story. Story time. So it was a couple of months ago, and I decided to take myself to lunch. I forget what the actual occasion was, but I ended up having like some time to myself. It was a beautiful day. My husband was working. My daughter, I think, was at school, and I had a moment to myself, and I decided to take myself to this restaurant that I like to go to that's up the road, that sits on the water. And because it was such a beautiful day, I was like, and I'm going to sit outside so I can soak up some sunshine and, be by the water, and I'll just, treat myself. This is what I decided to do. So I go to the restaurant, and I went at like an off hour. It was like 2:00, so not exactly lunchtime. But the place was still hopping. It was absolutely busy. But I was like, it's fine because it's just me. I'm just one person. So I just need a table that's big enough for me, right? And so I got there, and the hostess, or actually I walked through the restaurant to get to the outdoor patio section. And then the hostess seated me at a table that was available right away. And it was I guess you could have gotten 2 people at it, but it was basically a one-person table. There was one chair at it. And when I saw it, I was like, well, this looks odd. That's what I said. Because here was the situation. The patio had, like I said, it was right on the water. It was like actually a deck, not a patio. So it was a deck, a covered deck. And there were lots of tables lined up against the barrier between like the deck and the water. So lots of tables had like the waterside view. There was also like a bar in the center of the deck, and lots of tables and chairs around the bar area. So some were interior to the restaurant, closer to the restaurant than they were to the water. Others were closer to the water. But this particular table that the waitress put me at wasn't in either of those places. It was further away from like the layout of all of the regular tables. It was kind of off in the cut, and it was tucked under some trees, and it looked like it was a random table that the restaurant had added as an afterthought. It looked like they were trying to either cram too many tables into the space or what. I don't know what was going on. But it was, when I saw it and she seated me at it, I felt like I was an outsider as I was sitting at this table at the restaurant, right? And I was just like, I sat there, and there were a couple of people who glanced at me, and they gave me some, strange looks like, oh, she's sitting at an odd table. And it just made me feel super weird. And so I looked around, and I noticed that there was a little vacant spot closer to the water, like right on the edge of the water. And I was like, this table is small enough that I think it can fit in that spot. So when the waitress comes back, because I think she sat me down with a menu or whatever, but she was coming back to bring me a glass of water. So I was like, when she comes back, I'm going to ask her if we can move this table. So she comes back after like 2 minutes, and immediately I say, hey, you know what? Can we move this table? Yes, you've been doing lots of asking. Yes. So I said to her, hey, can we move this table like maybe over to there? And do you know what she said? She said, oh, sure. You know what? In fact, that's actually where this table was originally. The last guy who sat here just didn't want to be that directly in the sun. He wanted more shade, so we moved it for him. And we just didn't move it back. And I was like, oh. And it was, for me, such a teachable moment because I realized a couple of things. First of all, I realized how much growth I have had as a person. There was absolutely a time in my life, let's say 5 years ago, when if I were in that same situation, if I would have taken myself to lunch and the waitress sat me down at this raggedy table off in the cut, I would have just sat there. I would have felt awful, and I would have felt like I was not allowed to ask for something different. I would have just bared it, and it would have made my whole take myself to lunchtime experience like terrible. That's what would have happened. And I realized something else. So one, as I was thinking about making the ask, in my head, I started to go through like all of the ways that maybe the waitress might respond, right? So I I thought, maybe she'll say yes, but maybe she's going to give me a yes with an attitude, right? Because it's going to be an inconvenience to ask her to move this table, right? So she's going to be like, okay, yeah, sure. And then maybe I'll get crappy service for the rest of the day because she's not going to want to do this for me, right? I thought about that. I thought about that. Then I thought that maybe she would say, no, we don't move tables. It's not safe or something like that, right? My brain offered me all kinds of examples of what might happen. And what I did was I just decided that if I don't ask, there's no way at all, there would be a 0% chance of the table getting moved into an area that made me feel better. Like a 0% chance. So I decided to make the ask. And here is what I want to offer you. So now that you've heard my story and you've heard what I learned. So P.S. I had a wonderful lunch. Like, it was beautiful. The location of the table, once we moved it, like, it was perfect. I could see the water. I feel the sun on my face. It was fabulous, right? I was so glad I did it. So I have some questions for you to think about asking for what you want. So the first question that I'm going to give you is, where in your life are you telling yourself no? Where in your life are you telling yourself no? Are you telling yourself that you cannot have something, and so you never ask for it? I believe in showing up in life in an empowered way, where I am the first person to tell myself yes. Yes, I can. Yes, I will. Yes, I'm worth it. Yes, I can try. Right? I want to be the first person to tell myself yes. So where in your life are you telling yourself no? If there is something that you want and you're not asking for it because you're imagining that it's not available to you, or that it can't happen for someone like you, all you're doing is you're coming up with a very creative way to tell yourself no. So, where in your life have you told yourself no? I want you to think about that. And now that you're thinking about where in your own life you're telling yourself no, I also want to invite you to think about what it is you're missing out on by not asking for what you want. You're absolutely missing out on something by not speaking up for yourself, by not taking the chance on yourself, by not saying yes to yourself. You are missing out on so many things that are otherwise available to you, right? Just because you won't go for it. Here I was at this restaurant and I wanted the table moved into a different spot. Old me, pre-mindset, right? Pre-coach Elizabeth would not have asked, and I would have missed out on an opportunity to sit by the water, have a beautiful view, and not just that, like, I would have felt like crap the whole time I was eating the same food and sitting at the same restaurant. Right? Like, I would have missed out not just on the location of the table where it ultimately ended up, but I would have missed out on a beautiful experience. I'm just putting that out there, right? So whenever even if you're afraid of the answer being no, just the act of not even making the ask means that you are missing out on the opportunity for someone to tell you yes. Sometimes when there are things that we want, people want to give them to us. They would be glad to give them to us. We just need to give them the chance to do it. Asking is a way to invite people to help or serve you. So sometimes we're like, oh, I really need some help. But we won't ask for help. And you know what happens? No one helps us. Sometimes you're missing out on the help just because you're not asking. Sometimes you're missing out on that date because you won't make the ask. You're missing out on that friendship because you won't initiate the contact or you won't keep in touch. you're missing out on that money because you won't ask for the discount. I mean, I could go on and on, right? But you were absolutely missing out on things just because you won't ask. Okay. The third question I have for you, based on this story and this example, I'm gonna read this question right, make sure I get it right. Where in your life might you be accepting someone else's preferences as the default setting for you? I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back. Where in your life might you be accepting someone else's preferences as the default setting for you and your life? The table, or the restaurant, going back to my own story here, the restaurant put the table at the place where it ended up with when I enjoyed my lunch there, right? There was another customer that came before me that asked for what they wanted. And that guy asked to have it moved off into the cut because what he wanted was to be off in the cut and up under the shade. So he got what he wanted. The restaurant didn't go through the trouble of undoing his preference, right? So he made a selection that then became the default that was offered to me. You don't hear me. That guy asked for what he wanted. He got his preference, and it became the default of what was offered to me. I didn't like it. I didn't want it. And the only way that I got to undo it was by asking for what I wanted instead. Sometimes things are the way they are simply because you won't ask. Not because they're supposed to be this way, but just because somebody else wants it that way. But guess what? Your wants matter too. What you want matters. Sometimes people's preferences win out. Yeah, sure. So you know what? You have to put your preferences out there. You have to let your preferences be known in order to get your preferences considered. Ask for what you want. It is the first step to getting what you want. I've been talking this whole time. I don't know if you're liking this. If you're picking up when I'm laying down, drop me some hearts. Respond in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking or feeling, right? Because this seems really hard. I can do a whole different video about like what it means to actually ask, right? About how to ask. But really in this video, I just wanted to make sure that you understood that asking for what you want in and of itself is important. You should be the first person to tell yourself yes, and you do that by acknowledging what it is that you want and giving yourself permission to ask for it, to go after it. Now, if you don't actually know how to do any of this, if you have been stuffing down your desires for so long, you don't even know what it is that you want. Asking for what you want is going to be a little more complicated. It's going to take a little bit more work. If you feel selfish or guilty when you ask for what you want, if you are too afraid to ask for what you want because you don't want to rob someone else of what they want, if you feel like it's an either or choice, either they get what they want or I get what I want, and if you're always choosing other people over you, you're never going to get what you want. And if you need help with this kind of thing, with asking for what you want, with figuring out what it is that you want, I'm here for you. It's part of what I can do for you. So I am a mindset coach. I am a life coach. I help my clients create for themselves more of what they want in life. And if you want more of what you want, I can help you create that. Even if you don't know where else to start, I can help through one-on-one coaching. So if you're interested in getting some help with asking for what you want or dealing with the aftermath of what happens when you don't get what you want or when you do, because sometimes we get what we want and we don't know what to do. We don't know how to act. We don't know how to handle it, right? If you need help with any of that, reach out to me. Let me know. You can, slide up into my DMs. Let me know if you have any questions about working with me. And if you know that you want to work together through coaching, go ahead and tap the link that's in my bio and book a discovery call with me. And the whole point of the discovery call is just to figure out, one, if coaching is the right tool to help you with what you're trying to do, and two, if I'm the right coach for you. So I would love to have a conversation with you, to explore this with you. More than happy to do that. So hit me up, tap that link in my bio if you want to know more. Otherwise, your homework assignment from this is the next time you want something, just ask for it.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Life Edit Project podcast. I'd love to hear what your favorite moment or key takeaway was from this conversation. You can send me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter to let me know. My handle is @LifeEditProject, all one word, in all the places. My social media is linked up in the show notes to make it easy for you. Holla at your girl. I'll be back next week with another episode. In the meantime, don't just stay busy with the life you have, get busy creating the life you want.